Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Remember Little Marco, Trump's mocking nickname for his 2016 rival? Well, that same Marco Rubio now holds more power than any Secretary of State since Henry Kissinger. Today, we're exploring how a former Trump critic became America's most influential diplomat, what this means for U.S. foreign policy, and why it matters for global stability.
And what a transformation it's been. From being one of Trump's fiercest critics to becoming his most trusted foreign policy advisor, it's really quite remarkable.
Let's start with the present. According to recent reports, Rubio isn't just Secretary of State, he's also acting National Security Advisor and even oversees USAID. That's unprecedented, right?
Absolutely unprecedented. The Miami Herald actually compared his power concentration to Henry Kissinger under Nixon. He's essentially running all aspects of US foreign policy.
And this is the same person who once called Trump a con artist during the 2016 campaign?
Yeah, the evolution has been fascinating. But you know what's really interesting? His Senate confirmation vote. He got near unanimous support, even from Democrats who now say they regret that vote.
Wait, really? Why such broad support initially?
Well, Senator Jeanne Shaheen actually spoke about this. She cited their good working relationship over 14 years in the Senate. Many Democrats saw him as a traditional conservative they could work with.
But that perception has changed pretty dramatically, hasn't it?
Completely. Senator Blumenthal now calls him the Secretary of Sycophants. The shift really became apparent with his handling of Ukraine policy.
Let's talk about that Ukraine situation. What happened there?
Well, Rubio was known as a staunch Ukraine supporter in the Senate, but as Secretary of State, he's been pushing Trump's position that the only thing that matters is getting Putin to negotiate.
That's quite a reversal from someone who once called Putin a thug.
And it's not just Ukraine. Look at his stance on USAID. He spent years promoting international aid programs as vital to American soft power.
But now?
Now he's overseeing its dismantling. He even joked about handing off its closeout to another official on Twitter.
That's fascinating. Let's shift to Venezuela. This seems to be where Rubio's really making his mark, right?
Absolutely. He's completely reversed the administration's approach. Remember, in January, Trump's envoy Richard Grenell had negotiated a prisoner exchange with Maduro.
And now?
Now there are 8 US warships circling Venezuela, including the largest aircraft carrier in the world. It's a complete shift from diplomacy to military pressure.
That's quite an escalation.
And it's led to real consequences. At least 61 people have been killed in US strikes on boats in international waters, which the administration claims were carrying drugs.
Without congressional approval, right?
Correct. The administration is calling it an armed conflict with cartels to justify the actions.
Let's talk about his domestic influence. He's still maintaining connections in Congress?
Very much so. He's been actively endorsing candidates for the 2024 elections, including several Senate races. He backed Trump early, even before the Iowa caucuses.
That's interesting timing. Why so early?
He cited their work together on the child tax credit and sanctions on Cuba and Venezuela. But many see it as positioning for his own political future.
Speaking of the future, there are rumors about 2028, aren't there?
Yes, Trump actually pointed to Rubio as one of the good Republican candidates for 2028, alongside J.D. Vance, called it an unstoppable ticket.
But some conservatives are skeptical, right?
Particularly the MAGA base. They remember his past criticism of Trump and his traditional hawkish foreign policy views.
Let's talk about his evolution on immigration. That's been quite a journey.
It really has. In the Florida legislature, he actually co-sponsored their version of the DREAM Act in 2003.
Wait, really? The same person who's now
calling for mass deportations, yes. He recently said something's going to happen with all the people who've entered under Biden.
That's quite a shift for someone who announced his presidential campaign at the Ellis Island of the South.
The irony isn't lost on immigration advocates. They point out that Freedom Tower was where Cuban refugees, like Rubio's own parents, sought asylum.
How do you think this affects his standing with Latino voters?
Well, his own pollster said Republicans need to score in the mid-40s with Hispanic voters to win, but his shifting positions have cost him trust in those communities.
Let's talk about his current role in shaping foreign policy. What's his main focus?
He's pushing what analysts call a might makes right worldview. It's about reasserting American power, particularly in Latin America.
And that's different from traditional Republican foreign policy?
Very different. Traditional Republicans emphasized alliances and diplomatic engagement. Rubio's approach is more unilateral, more confrontational.
How's that playing with our allies?
Reports indicate he's been fielding calls from shocked European allies, particularly about the shift in Ukraine policy.
And domestically, how's Congress responding?
It's split along party lines. Republicans are largely supportive, while Democrats who voted to confirm him are expressing buyer's remorse.
What about his relationship with Trump? How does that dynamic work?
Trump recently compared him to Kissinger at the Israeli Knesset, saying he'll go down as the greatest Secretary of State in history.
That's quite a turnaround from little Marco.
And it shows how completely he's aligned himself with Trump's vision. He's gone from critic to enforcer.
Let's talk about his influence on specific policies. The Panama Canal Initiative, for instance.
Yes, Trump put him in charge of gaining control of the Panama Canal. It's part of this broader American expansionism agenda he's pushing.
That sounds like quite a shift from traditional diplomacy.
It is. And it's causing concern even among some Republicans who worry about alienating allies and partners.
How do you see this playing out long term?
Senator Rounds actually addressed this. He said, long term, he will have real influence. Short term, he's probably still getting his feet on the ground.
But the changes he's making now could have lasting effects, right?
Absolutely. Particularly the dismantling of diplomatic infrastructure like USAID. These aren't things you can easily rebuild.
What do you think drives him? Personal ambition?
Michael Hanna from the International Crisis Group suggests it's both conviction and ambition. He believes in American power, but also sees this as his path to the presidency.
Looking ahead, what should we watch for?
The Venezuela situation is key. If military pressure leads to regime change, it could validate his approach. If not, it could backfire badly.
And his political future?
That likely depends on whether he can maintain Trump's support while building his own base. It's a delicate balance.
So when we look back at this period, how do you think history will judge Marco Rubio?
That may depend on whether his transformation is seen as pragmatic adaptation or principled evolution. Right now, it looks more like the former.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Copilot Podcasts. From little Marco to America's most powerful diplomat, it's a reminder that in politics, today's rival can become tomorrow's right-hand man.
And sometimes the most dramatic transformations happen not with a bang, but with a series of small compromises that add up to a complete reinvention.